Miami. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our panel, Luxury Meets NFTs. My name is Daniela Nao. I am the co-founder and the COO of DeFi Trends. We provide data analytics and education for cryptocurrencies and NFTs. We make investing easy for you all. So I am sitting with some very interesting people from all walks of life. I know some of you have been in really powerful talks earlier this week. So let's start with intros, and then we can dive right into the conversation. All right, Roman. He is the founder and CEO of Luxury Bazaar. He's the guy with the fancy watches that I'm sure you have all seen outside. He's one of the pioneers of bringing luxury watches and jewelry into the World Wide Web, and currently he's one of the major players in the online luxury watch and jewelry sector. Let's give it up for Ronan. All right, as Senior Director of Strategic Partnerships at Christie's, Lexi creates innovative strategies and programs to build Christie's brand, drive revenue, and fuel client acquisition, with a particular focus on partnerships that support Christie's digital art around AI, mixed realities, and NFTs. Lee is the founder and CEO of MPH. Back in 2015, MPH Club started advertising that was accepting cryptocurrencies as a payment. Over the years, the company has grown rapidly and has expanded into new spaces. Today, MPH Club is one of the few dealerships that openly accept crypto as payment method for purchasing a vehicle. So all of those beautiful fancy cars that we have seen outside, this is the man behind them. Because we like fancy cars. And last but not least, Shannon. Shannon is the founder of Astronaut. He has 20 years in background in leadership development. His company is focused on creating impact through space travel, cryptocurrency, human potential, and NFTs. So yeah, quite an interesting crowd. Thank you guys for being here. So let's get started. We have a lot of people in the space that is their first time at a crypto conference, and thank you for coming, for being brave. So Shannon, I'm wondering if you can give us a 2-sentence introduction into what NFTs are, so that we can dive straight into the conversation on a level playing field.
Thank you. NFT stands for non-fungible token, and that is a digital asset that can represent everything from a digital piece of art. It can symbolize access to anything. It can also, on the back end, have a contract in which the owner of that NFT or the creator of that NFT gets a portion of the proceeds any time that that digital asset is sold in the future. So it's pretty cool.
Thank you. So let's talk about NFTs and how they're impacting each of your companies. So all of you have been working in industries that obviously are successful thanks to the material thing that you're selling. So I'm curious to hear on what is the opportunity that NFTs are bringing in for each of your specific industries.
In regards to NFTs, not so much from my industry. What I've done is we've announced back in 2015 that we do accept cryptocurrency as a form of payment for car rentals or even car sales. And that right there actually grew our company up. By at least 5–10% of our clients these days are actually paying in cryptocurrency. NFTs not yet so far. I feel like it's still new. Still keeping a close eye on it. I do see in the near future that the actually automotive, the big brands like the Lamborghinis and Ferraris, Rolls Royces will actually be selling the vehicles, and instead of giving you like a title, they'll be giving you an NFT or smart contract where you can actually see the actual owner of the vehicle. Maybe you could do service on the vehicle, and then eventually they'll keep the resale value onto the next purchaser of the vehicle. I think that'll make more sense in the future. I feel like we're still in the beginning stages of that.
Absolutely, and I think it would be interesting to explore later on what are some of the reasons why we're not there yet. So let's talk about that later, but I would love to hear from you, Ronan, and from everybody else.
I think for us, and I'm going to piggyback on what Lee said, it's accepting Bitcoin or cryptocurrency has elevated our business a decent percentage, I will say, opened us to a different market. But for the most part, what's happening is, or at least what I see how it affects my industry, is that let's call this world virtual. Let's call our world tangible, right? Physical, as you called it. What's happening a lot of times is a lot of money being made in this industry, and I don't even know if I want to use the word industry in this particular space, but let's do that. A lot of money is being made in this industry. There are a lot of people that have gotten lucky. There are a lot of people that know what they're doing. Most are still learning. I pretty much believe that everyone in this space is here to learn, and they're still learning no matter how seasoned of an investor you are. So what happens when you tend to make money at the end of the day, which a lot of people are motivated by the fact that there's a lot of money in this industry, or in the crypto world, you tend to want to take some of those profits off the tables. And the minute that you take those profits off the virtual table, as I like to call it, you want to put it into something tangible. And I believe this is where myself and Lee come in, where we're able to take that and convert it into something tangible, be it a fancy watch or a fancy car. And when it's all profits, and sometimes ridiculous profits, all of a sudden, it doesn't matter if that watch is $100,000 or $300,000 and what it's going to be worth in the future because it's technically free. And it's sort of that still a little bit of lack of confidence in this, which is because it's so new, sort of like going back to the stock market in the 1800s. People didn't really believe it 100%, but didn't want to miss out. And all of a sudden, you're making money. You're going to convert it into something that's tangible. And because of this world, our markets have gone through the roof. Cars and watches alike are trading at values that are probably 30 to 40, sometimes 200% higher than they were, let's say, 2 to 3 years ago.
So I work at Christie's, which is a 250-year-old auction house, probably best known for selling $100 million Picassos and a $450 million Da Vinci. What might be less well known is that we have been very committed to exploring the conversation and the experience around the intersection of art and tech. And that's been something we've been doing for a while with artificial intelligence, blockchain, mixed reality. So NFTs in many ways is sort of the next step in that digital journey. But I'm sure most of you are familiar with a recent sale by Mike Winkelmann, aka Beeple, which was the $69 million NFT that Christie's sold last March. Yeah, very exciting. And really, I think for us, one of the most important things that did was validate digital art as a category, as an experience. So really changed the way I think people think about digital art. If it can be sold for that much, the market is valuing it. And so that was very important for us. And the other thing that NFTs have done for us is really, in the past, since that sale, we obviously went on to sell a number of other works in a few different categories around NFTs. And that enabled us to reach an entirely new audience that really I don't think we would have tapped into otherwise. So a global audience, a younger audience, and an audience very engaged in crypto. In many ways, NFTs was sort of a gateway for us to that audience, and that's very exciting. And then third, we were able to, we've been able to work with a whole group of emerging artists who, probably would never have been on the radar of most of us, certainly not, made it to the secondary, what's typically a secondary market like Christie's. So all three of those things have been really, really exciting, and I think for the industry as a whole, and I think really important.
Thank you. That was great. And just to speak to what you said, I've known of Christie's for quite a while, and to see you guys have such a legacy brand and merge with like cutting edge technology, I think that's brilliant. Yeah, so awesome. So Astronaut is not 250 years old. Our entire focus is on the future. And there's a number of things that are tied into that, which is NFTs and cryptocurrency are, as everyone is saying, brand new. And so the NFTs specifically, as of today, are 1% market penetration, which is nothing, And some of these NFTs, I mean, are just doing insane numbers financially. So if that's the case now, then just imagine at 1% market penetration, if that's what's happening, the future is just is bonkers, which is great. And so our view is cryptocurrency and NFTs are so new relatively that the narrative is undefined. What are they? How can they be used? We're still kind of figuring it out. And so what we want to do is bring context to it in the form of making an impact, making a difference in the world. And so the NFTs in our world represent not just potentially a trip to space, or we're even talking about doing something with some luxury watches that represent ownership and things like that. Really on the back end, it represents a membership to a community. And if you watch a lot of these big NFT launches, what you'll see is one of the big things that make them as successful as they are is the community that's on the back end. Look at Bored Ape Yacht Club. I mean, it's mind-blowing what's happening with that. Yeah, let's give it up for the apes, okay? But they've discovered that with everything that's going on with technology in a way has connected us more than ever, but it's also separated us. And in real life experiences like this one, people are kind of remembering are important. And so NFTs on the back end of the smart contract can say, hey, and there's a community here for you to be a part of. And so we want that community piece in the picture. And so that's a large part of why it's important for us. Now, the other side is because NFTs exist on the blockchain. And it's obvious that cryptocurrency is part of the future. And so we want to be, as Wayne Gretzky said, I don't skate to where the puck is, I skate to where the puck is going. And so we see cryptocurrency as the future, so we don't want to continue to engage with fiat and do things that way. We want to go where things are moving, and ideally help set the narrative for that as well in the process.
Great, thank you everybody for sharing. So a question for you. My understanding of your business model is that these missions, these trips, are being financed due to the NFT sales. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so it's also providing a segue, and it's allowing your company to be birthed into existence, right?
Say that last part again.
It allows for the financing of your company.
That's correct.
Yeah, which is super fascinating.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about luxury. Like, what is luxury? So I want to ask you, Lexi, what constitutes luxury, and can Bored Ape, CryptoPunk be considered luxury? Let's dive a little bit into that.
Sure. So when I think about luxury, I think about three things. That something is exclusive, that it's expensive, and that it's something that you don't need. And to me, CryptoPunks checks all those boxes. So CryptoPunks is, Love Labs is really the old guard of crypto art. And in terms of exclusivity, I mean, there are 10,000, 9,000 punks really out there available, but each one is unique. They have different levels of scarcity and rarity. So, an alien or an ape there aren't many of them. So they are exclusive. They've traded as high as over $11 million. I think currently, maybe you could get one for around 200,000, maybe. But, they're expensive. And I guess really to me, the ultimate sort of luxury flex from a CryptoPunk is that, it's like putting a Rolex on your wrist, except now your punk is your PFP. And that's really a luxury flex to me.
Yeah, so I was talking with Lee and Roman earlier, and we were talking about flexing, right? The flex culture, the watch boy, and the car boy, of course. So I want to dive into luxury in the metaverse. Where do you guys see that going? Like, what is something that we can start seeing? Because according to the conversation that we're just having, we're changing the concept, we're changing the ship. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Where is luxury meeting us in the metaverse?
Yeah, very interesting. So recently I was talking to my team about the whole metaverse, and the way that I see the metaverse going is, like, for example, right now, if you want to find my company, you need to go on the World Wide Web. You need to go to my website. I have a nice presentation there for you to see the cars. And if you want to see me on Instagram, you go to my handle at MPH Club. If you want to go to Facebook, so on and so on, right? Metaverse, I'll have to build my whole platform. I'll have to build a beautiful showroom to show the vehicles, test drive them on the metaverse, and then when you're ready to move forward in the real life, that's when you can make a reservation and then move forward. That's how I would see myself play out in the metaverse in the near future, and we're looking into it right now, currently.
I'll add on a little to that. So again, I'm going to add on to the flex part of it, right? So I consider myself a dinosaur. I spoke to dozens and dozens of people in this conference, and to me, it was a different language at most times, right? The metaverse is, to me, brings me back to when I was a bit younger and to video games, right? To gamifying things. So in the metaverse, now it's starting to get to a point where it's being gamified, right? You're actually living in virtual reality. There were video games that came close to that, but not quite. Obviously, with technology today, this is going to go much further. But there's still a separation and room for both, i.e., it depends on where you want to flex. If you want to flex in real life, then you put a watch on your wrist and you jump into one of these cars. If you want to buy $1 million yacht in the metaverse, which I believe happened, you go out and you buy $1 million yacht. It's a different kind of flex for a different generation. And, you know, generations change, things change. You know, what is flexing 50 years from now? Perhaps it's going to be renting a Ferrari virtually in your metaverse space and driving down Fifth Avenue in that space rather than doing it physically, which, if you think about it, can be pretty scary, that everyone will tend to lean towards the virtual world. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, in the very least, and as long as we have guys like you just mentioned, community piece, right? To remind people that at the end of the day, there's a human factor to all of this. You can flex on the metaverse, you can flex in real life, but at the end of the day, it comes down to communities, to real people. I don't think that's going away anytime soon, but there's plenty of room for the new generation to flex. And guess what? If somebody tends to rent his car in the metaverse and pay him ridiculous amount of crypto for it, and it doesn't put any wear and tear on his vehicle, he wins. That's just the bottom line. Yeah.
So for you guys, do you feel like this is a threat, or does it present an opportunity for you?
I believe it's an opportunity for us.
Definitely an opportunity.
Okay, can you tell us more about that?
Well, it's an opportunity, going back to what I said earlier. New industry, new world, lots of new money being made. If you think of the term new money, right? Be it back in the day in the oil industry, be it the internet, the .com boom, right? Every one of those booms brought a lot of money to market. And fortunately, people tend to reach for expensive, unnecessary things, which is luxury.
Another platform to advertise on, technically.
Yeah, so I want to ask you guys, let's think like 5-10 years in the future. Do you believe that people would own more goods in the metaverse than in real life? Do you think that that's going to change? Let's talk about that. And Shannon, I know you're a little bored, but let me ask you a question that gets you excited too.
I heard 500 years. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, in the next 5-10 years, I definitely see it growing rapidly. Look, like for example, 5 years ago, actually 2015 is when I started announcing that I do accept cryptocurrency. And only once or twice a year, I had a unique client who actually paid in cryptocurrency. And this year, in the past year, I've been collecting cryptocurrency from clients every week now. So it's becoming more of like a day-to-day operation. And in 5-10 years from now, I can see a big influence of it.
There's a lot of ifs, and I mean, obviously, they're all going back to good old economy, physical economy, not virtual. But I do believe that this space, although it's such a tiny part of the world economy today, it will grow much bigger. I don't know at which point it can grow to a level will have an impact on the physical economy if there was something bad were to happen. And economies are cyclical, right? And I do believe that the virtual economy, which is what this space is creating, is its own virtual economy, is also going to be cyclical. So you're going to have ups and downs. I don't think in the next 5, 10 years this space can grow to a level where even if a bubble happened within this space, it would have an effect on the tangible economy or the physical economy. But probably 25 to 50 years from now, this space will grow to a level where if something bad were to happen, or good for that matter, it could have a big effect on the physical economies. And the first things to go whenever there's some sort of a bubble or a downturn are the luxury, useless things that people like to buy when they make some extra change.
I'll just say for Christie's sake, I hope that that's not the case, because obviously a tremendous part of our business is contingent on the physical as well. But I think that at the end of the day, people want to own beautiful things or special things or luxury things. And I think that means different things to different people. I think the trend that we're seeing now with the younger generation is that ownership is sort of thought about and defined differently. There is an interest in having less stuff and having things that can be transferable, and I think there's a new appreciation for digital ownership that I think certainly Christie's older clients may not have. So I think there's potentially a convergence. I don't think we're ever going to get to the point where, if you have an option to own a Picasso, that you would, that wouldn't be of interest, and it's quite interesting that some of our most important NFT buyers may have come in trying to bid on or buy an NFT and have gone on to buy some of our most important contemporary and impressionist work. So I think that will still continue to be relevant.
I have a follow-up question on that. So a lot of your buyers and my buyers alike, they look for a value, they look for an investment value in the product that they buy, because these things are indeed expensive, and they do tend to go up in value over time. Sometimes they go down, sometimes they go up. Right now, everything is going up. How many of your clients, would you say a percentage of your clients, have gone out and bought the digital art to add to their collection on top of an existing physical collection, either as due to FOMO or perhaps as to say, well, you know what, I should own a piece of it because everybody else is buying it?
So I think what happened in 2020 with COVID is that all of a sudden, galleries, art fairs, auction houses shut down, and everything went online. And so the whole industry, pivoted, and instead of just having online sales with some secondary products, the good stuff went online. So all of a sudden, the traditional art enthusiasts have the opportunity to buy online. And you can see from 2019 to 2020, the online sales in the art market went from 10% of the market to 0.25% of the market, on top of which the market contracted. So all of a sudden you have a community that's comfortable buying online. Then you get, in 2021, Bitcoin surging, Ethereum, all of crypto surging. So I think that sort of opened the doors, and then we saw people. I think now the mindset is very different than it was a year ago, and I think now our traditional clients are really starting to move into NFTs in a way that a year or a year and a half ago they weren't comfortable doing so.
I'd like to add a couple pieces of ideas to the picture. Because my definition of luxury is very different than what's been communicated so far. Do you know what the greatest luxury is?
Health.
Family for me.
Time. You know what the second greatest luxury is?
Are you asking me?
Fulfillment. The majority of people die with regret. There's about 5 different flavors of regret that most people die with, but it is predominant throughout the world that most people die with regret. Time. Some of the wealthiest people in the world would trade all their money if they could have their time back. And many people get to the end of their life and realize they didn't live any of it. So Astronaut seeks to solve for those sides of the equation. And And interestingly enough, so first of all, I certainly believe in your definition because it's very real and it exists. And I believe there is another side to that definition as well. So with that being said, I think what's interesting to dovetail about your question about the metaverse is as exponential and converging technology moves forward, many of the jobs that people frankly don't want to do will be taken off the table. And what that will do for our civilization is that for the first time ever, it will give us the opportunity to focus mostly on creativity, rather than having to do things that we don't want to do. That's pretty cool. To have a life where you can build it and live in it the way that feels closest to your heart, that's a luxury. And the metaverse and the way the future is being oriented gives, similar to how the internet has leveled the playing field for people to make money. There are people who are making millions of dollars now on the internet that would have never had that opportunity had the internet not existed. The metaverse is going to do the same thing, just at a quantum level, because people will be able to exist within that space and focus on creativity, because we'll have technology focusing on all the dirty work, that they'll bring new ideas and new innovations and new art and new watches and new cars to that world. And it'll bring a whole nother level of engagement, because what we're also seeing, because of the way that the economy is moving, is within the next 20 or so years, the middle class will be larger than the poverty class for the first time ever in humankind's history, which is fantastic, because that means the buying power collectively will go through the roof, and the middle class will actually, the dollar amount of like what that definition is will be significantly higher than what it's ever been as well. And so that will absolutely change the game. Now, you have a video game called Fortnite. Who's heard of Fortnite? Some of you have, some of you haven't. For those of you who have not, Fortnite is a video game. It's an open world battle royale game.
What time we're dropping?
What's that?
When are we dropping?
Yeah. The game is free. The game is completely free. They only make money by selling digital assets. And those assets have zero utility in the game. They don't make you more powerful. They don't make your weapons better. It's simply clothes. It's flex type stuff. Fortnite is one of the highest grossing games of all time, and it's free. And they only make money off of digital assets that don't have any benefit to the user within the game. It simply just makes them feel better, makes them feel cool. So if that's any indication of where things are going, and it is, then that it speaks for itself.
Absolutely. You're a wonderful public speaker. So, yes, so deep, right? Like he takes us on like profound journeys. So I wanted to ask.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Something that I love about NFTs, crypto space, is the decentralization of assets and how it's allowing people, multiple groups of people, to come together and purchase an asset that previously was only accessible to the 1%. So I want to talk about that, the decentralization of assets. And in your case, I'm really interested to ask you, have you guys thought about doing maybe one of the NFTs as a decentralized NFT that multiple people have the opportunity to purchase? And if so, I guess let's divide this question into two. So let's talk about decentralization of assets. How does that play a role for you? Are you guys doing any of that? And let's see where that conversation takes us.
Yeah, so again, me and my team, we were actually looking into how do we tie ourselves with the NFTs and how we can make this possible. You know, I own MPH Club, and it's a luxury car rental company. The cars that we have in our inventory are high-end exotic cars like Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Rolls-Royces, just to name a few of the brands. We have a unique
Flexing.
You see a couple of the cars parked up front. That's a little bit of the inventory that we have. So we have a very unique membership program where we pre-sell rental days. And there has to be a way for us to tie in a NFT to the membership. So we don't sell a lot of memberships. They're very unique. They're expensive. They're $65,000 for 100 rental days. It's not for everybody. But for the one individual that does want it, we are in process of tying together some sort of an NFT with the membership. We sell, let's say, 20 memberships a year, and that's something that we're able to create 20 NFTs. They expire at the end of the year. They go up in value if you trade them within. There's something there for us to tie in, and we're still in the beginning stages of looking into it. So it's something that we're probably going to be announcing maybe next year. So next time we're in this conference, we'll talk a lot more about it, hopefully.
Great, thank you.
One of the issues both myself and Lee face in regards to the NFT space is we don't own the rights to the names that we sell. I.e., if I go out there and make a Rolex NFT, I will have a lawsuit on my hands in 30 seconds, and same goes for Ferrari or Lamborghini. So we looked into things such as ownership, paperwork that you normally get with a watch or a car, converting that into an NFT, storing into a blockchain, but then 30 seconds later, the companies themselves will do just the same, right? And they'll take advantage of it. The only approach that I've been thinking about lately is partial ownership. Not everyone can afford a $100,000 watch. However, creating a particular token, be it a token, your company token or whatever it may be, and allowing, let's say, 5 individuals to partially own a particular watch. And not as an investment, but to physically actually own it and pass it, and sort of like a timeshare, if you will. That's one option that we're looking into. Another option is some people look at somebody's timepieces over time as an investment. But as much as in today's world, it seems like every single watch goes through the roof. There's not a single Rolex in a Rolex store, and they're all trade at triple value. That may not stand true, same as for art, 5 years from now when the market shifts. So I don't advise my clients to buy watches as an investment. I advise them to buy as an expensive toy. But what if there are 10 clients that do want to wear a $250,000 watch, but they're only able to afford $25,000? I think that's when an NFT can be utilized in order to create partial ownership of a watch. And if that watch happens to go up in value, then by all means, your NFT just went up in value just the same. And again, I think it opens up our world. It opens up the world of what you couldn't previously afford to somebody that can now afford it alongside with a community.
I actually like that idea a lot.
So Shannon talked about community earlier, and I think that's really relevant here and really interesting. So I don't know if you saw, there was recently something called Constitution DAO, which was a group of people who came together, and essentially it was the largest crowd-funded auction bid ever. A group raised about, I think it was $43 million to bid on an original copy of the U.S. Constitution that was being sold at a second-rate auction house. But anyway, so they didn't win it for a number of reasons, including the fact that they sort of tipped everyone into what their number was, which is kind of a basic auction no-no. But the concept was really interesting of this group coming together to bid on something, and there were a lot of hiccups around it with gas fees and returning the money, but you know, the undertaking was really interesting, and I think we're going to see more of that kind of those kind of experiences. There's a startup company called Particle, which was founded by a former Christie's person, which is trying to tokenize or fractionalize works. So again, maybe you can't buy an entire Banksy, but you can own a piece of a Banksy as sort of an investment opportunity, and the work can be held, at a nonprofit, for example, and enjoyed by the larger public. So I think it's really interesting what's happening. It's all made possible by blockchain and NFTs, so it's really exciting.
Yes, absolutely. And then, Shannon, the question that I wanted to direct to you specifically is in regards to doing one of your NFTs as potential multiple ownership. Is that something that you guys have been considering? Because I'm sure that many of us would be interested in that, since the NFT, I'm sure, is quite pricey.
Yeah, you're right. The challenge with that is, unless we owned our own rocket at some point that we could fractionalize and give ownership to people too, that could be a part of the conversation, but that would be down the line. That would include things like potentially having, we're talking about in the future having our own kind of wing on the International Space Station, or a clubhouse on the moon. So there could be some like fractional ownership there, but as far as the actual travel, and it gets sticky because most of the focus is on the individual. So there could be some room for possibly like doing some type of DAO that allows for one person to be able to go, that's like someone who gets voted on or something like that, that likely maybe financially wouldn't be able to go. So there's a little bit of a potential philanthropic side. So we're playing with how we can do that, either with hard assets like International Space Station, or with some of the softer side with people. So we're toying with that.
Yeah, that's really cool. So obviously, I would love to go to space, but unfortunately, DeFi Trends is not giving me yet the I don't know how many $1 million.
Yeah.
So just thinking about this is a really exciting thought, because I don't believe that space should only be reserved for those who can afford it.
Yeah, and neither do I, just to be clear.
Of course.
And
of course.
and the good news is, again, with the way that technology is moving, it's moving so much faster than people realize. Look at computers, for example. Look at the history of computers and how long computers have been around. Okay. Over the past couple years, we have developed quantum computing. Now, quantum computing is mind-bending. If you take all the computers in the world and you connect them and you give them one algorithm, one equation to crunch, that one equation, like something extremely complex, would take 10 years to crack. A quantum computer can do it in 60 seconds. Think about that.
By itself.
By itself. So a computer runs off ones and zeros. It's
I want to
binary.
be mindful of the time, so
Yeah. So the point is, space will democratize a lot faster than people think. Yeah.
great, thank you. And I wish we had more time so that we can dive into more cool facts and stories. But I do want to spend the last seconds thanking all of you. I've learned so much. I'm really happy to be connecting and for all of us to be sitting together. It's such an eclectic and special group of people. So thank you to the conference for putting this together. Thank you all for being here, for being hungry for knowledge, for stepping out of your comfort zone, for being at the edge of technology and NFTs. So I'll leave the last 2 minutes for you all to say your closing remarks. Thank you for listening. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. This event has been amazing. I can't wait for next year. I can see this thing grow every year. If anybody's ever interested in a couple of fun toys, we are located in the front entrance with all the fun, exotic white cars that we have right up front. Feel free to come check us out, and we'll talk cars.
Well, I want to say thank you for having us. Guys, thank you for filling the room and listening. I got to tell you, my final conclusion is going to be that I am going to take a LaFerrari, drive it to an airport, get into a spaceship, and hang a Picasso in that spaceship wearing a cool watch after this panel. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much to the conference for inviting me to be here. I was going to say it's a luxury, but I felt like that would be kind of... but actually, I already won the space trip, so we can all go home now.
Really?
Did you tell me that?
Oh, yeah.
I'm a nervous flyer, by the way, so yeah, not for me.
And listen, guys, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. My vision can only go as far as the people who want to work with me to make it happen. And so Yeah, I'm just really grateful for you guys, and for those of you that have introduced yourself personally that are interested in going to space and making an impact. I've really just been blown away by your desire to do that, and so thank you.
Thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day.